Hello, welcome back to the Onlyfabs channel. Today, we're going to be building this 5 foot rock bucket. As you can see, we have the adapters, the lip shrouds set out. Then afterwards, we're going to put heel blocks on the back and the headstock on the top, obviously. And then once it's done, it'll go away and get shot blasted and painted. We'll be able to show you the finished product, ready for the customer. So, we'll get after it. I'm trying to think where there would be. I think there is some in the stores, you know. So as you can see, we've got a start. We've put the adapters on. They're spaced out. The 350mm centres is how they work out, with it being a 5 foot bucket. Now that we've got them on, we'll fit these lip shrouds. But if you're not familiar with lip shrouds, just go on there like that and weld it on. So I'll clean up in between. In hindsight, I probably should have just cleaned the whole edge before I started. For anybody that knows buckets, the fact that it's got a 50mm edge in on a 20-tonner shows that it's heavy. Normally you wouldn't see a 50mm edge until a 30-tonner on like general purpose buckets, so it just means it is a very heavy bucket. As the shell spec itself, obviously by the time we finish with it, with the lip shrouds on, the heel shrouds that are going to go on, it's going to be some bucket, to be fair. So what I'll do is I'll get cleaned up in between. I'll put the lip shrouds on and I'll turn it on its side, so it makes sense to put both the adapters and the lip shrouds on first, and then when I turn it on its side, I can weld them both on together. Sometimes you don't have quite as big a gap in between, depending on the width of your bucket and how many teeth the customer wants, etc. So it's not always possible, because sometimes you can be quite short of room. But luckily on this one, that's not the case. So we could manage to weld them all on at once, which is a godsend, because it just means you don't have to turn the bucket over and over. Because the less time you spend turning it, the better, obviously. So yeah, I'll get cleaned up and we'll have some lip shrouds tacked in, and then we can get it laid on its side and get welded on. So I've cleaned the first lip shroud up, and as you can see, I've cleaned down these sides and down here, but I haven't cleaned the backs up, because what we do when we weld them on is we only weld the sides, because when you weld around the back, they have a habit of cracking, and this is because the force, when you dig in to whatever, stone, clay, whatever it is you're digging into, when you're digging in, it's pushing on there. With it not having this bit welded, it allows all that pressure to dissipate out the back. Not 100% sure how the physics of it all works, but not welding the back seems to be a tried and tested method of stopping them cracking. And if you weld the backs, they tend to crack. So who are we to argue? So we just get on and do what we do. So yeah, when we put these lip shrouds on, we actually only weld the sides, we don't weld the backs. The same can be said for the adapters. You'll often see a bucket, and underneath and also on top at times, you'll see where the back of the adapter hasn't been welded. They've only been welded on the sides, and that's the reasoning behind that. So like I say, we'll just weld the sides and leave the backs open, and it just gives some way of the pressure to release without it being welded at the back there. So like I say, I'm not quite sure how the magic happens, but that's how it happens. And yeah, I don't know enough to argue. So that's how we're going to do it. But when you see a bucket out in the real world and you think, they've missed that bit, they haven't missed it. It is just a tested method of making sure that they last longer. So yeah, if you notice that on a bucket now, you'll understand why. Yeah, so just a little education there for you. You might not be interested, but it's something that blew my mind when I first heard it. It took a bit of getting my head around, but I've watched it and seen it, and now I sort of understand why we do that, and it just gives you a bit of food for thought. Anyway, as far as lip shrouds go, so we put the obviously over the lip, and the fact that it's got all this to wear is one of the reasons why it works as well as it does. But it's also about creating trap holes and gaps as much as wear metal. So when that's close to the adapters, you often find that little rocks of like will jam in between the gaps, and that's more useful than the actual lip shroud itself, because then you're wearing the material as hard as you're digging. So rock wearing rock is more beneficial than rock wearing metal. So if you can trap stuff in gaps, created by your wear package, you're doing it exactly as you should be, and that's far better than if you've got wear packages on there that don't. And yeah, any wear package will trap a degree or work even if it doesn't. But if you've got a wear package that's trapping material, that wear package is more efficient than a wear package that isn't. Because, like I say, you're wearing the material that's as abrasive as the material you're digging, as opposed to wearing the steel. And for all it's hardened and it wears well, if you can make that last twice as long because it's wearing on rock as well as your steel, then you've cracked it, because your bucket lasts twice as long before it's worn out. And we do find a lot of repair work that we get in, people let them get too far, with that be teeth, lip shrouds, heel shroud, wear bars. The idea of the wear bar is you're not meant to wear it off completely till you start wearing your bucket. Once it gets down, you're meant to gouge it off and weld a new one on, so it doesn't wear your bucket. So we see a lot of that where we're repairing something that's gone too far because you've tried to get extra money's worth out of it. What the customer doesn't realise is, in actual fact, had they sent it to us 2 months previous or 2 weeks previous, depending on how bad it is, or that if we gouged it off before it was at a point that it was gone, the little bit of time it takes us to gouge it off and weld a new one on, that bucket wouldn't have worn the same. You often find that you have to repair something which is a bigger repair because it's worn out, as opposed to changing it before it had worn out. Again, a lot of places it's due to downtime, or it can't be spared, whatever. But if you can get that into a system where it gets repaired before it's too far, the repair cost is somewhat smaller than letting it get beyond and having a bigger repair for the sake of that little bit of extra wear that you've had out your first set of wear package. So it just makes it more cost effective for the end customer to actually repair it before it gets too far down. I mean, we do get a lot of buckets where you're putting a bottom in them because they've worn them out. Ditching buckets are a big one where we end up putting a bottom in a ditching bucket because they've worn the wear bar off, or it hasn't had a wear bar on, and they've worn it that thin that they've worn the arse out of it. And if you can get to a point where you realise that, this is wearing, it's getting thin, etc., etc., you can weld a wear bar onto something that's straight and right a lot easier than you can that one that's got thin and dented and it's all rigs and furs, and it takes twice as long to put a wear bar onto that because you've got to pull your wear bar to your floor, so it just takes a lot more doing, obviously resulting in a more costly repair than if you'd done it when the bucket was in good condition. So there, again, a little bit of education. If you run machines and buckets and you've got wear packages on them, change the wear packages before they're too far gone, and it will save you money, because like I say, it is more cost effective for all you maybe think you haven't got your money's worth out the first wear package. Ultimately, you're better off not taking them too far, because it does repair you in the future, with downtime on a more costly repair, and the price of the repair. So yeah, another bit of knowledge for you. Hopefully that helps anybody in the industry that's the end user. Yeah, if there's any questions anybody has regarding buckets, the chap that I work for, or the company I work for, obviously we do new buckets, old buckets, repair work. We'll repair yours. We can hire you a bucket, anything you like. When it comes to attachments, these are the boys. So I'll give you a bit of contact information at the end of this video. If anybody's interested in a bucket of any description or a repair, we're based in the northeast of England, and I'm sure we would, we'll do our utmost to facilitate anybody, whether it be a sale, hire, or a repair. When it comes to buckets, we'll have a go at anything, and hopefully get you fit up with exactly what you need, even to the point of if you've got a bucket that needs repairing, we can send you a bucket to hire for a week or two while yours is repaired, and then swap them over. We'll organise the transport and everything. Obviously it'll cost you, but we can be your one-stop solution. So again, anybody that's an end user that needs anything like that, give us a shout. Like I say, I will put some contact information at the end, and yeah, hopefully that'll help someone. So as you can see, I've put the eel shrouds on. I've cleaned them all up. I didn't want to bore you with me just grinding for 20 minutes, so I've done that off camera. But yeah, they're all ground up, so they're all clean and they're all spaced perfectly. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to tack them on. I've also cleaned the back of the bucket ready for the headstock while I was on. So yeah, I'm going to tack all them on. Then what I'll do is I'll take it outside with a forklift and I'll turn it over on its side. What we have in our yard is we have a little bit of little pad that's just stone, so that when we turn in anything heavy where it's going to fall, essentially, because as you can imagine, it's hard to control turning over a bucket, because they get to a point where they just want to go over the centre and flop. So what we tend to do is we turn them over on the stone, and then we have no fear of breaking any concrete, because the worst thing you want to do is break your concrete floor. So yeah, so that's another little insight to what we do. So right, I'll get these tacked on, and yeah, then we'll have a turn over. So as you can see, the back of the bucket here, this one again, being a rock bucket, not only does it have these wear bars, which are 20mm thick, it also has these 20mm thick heel bars on as well, which obviously wrap round. So again, what you do is you create a cavity here as well as here. So it just means that more product can get stuck and collect and helps with the wear. So not only has this bucket got these, but we also want to put these on as well. So again, you'll have more cavities for more product to gather, and that'll make it even more so that if you're on a really hard abrasive rock, your bottom of your bucket, which is this bit, essentially you've then got nearly 4 inches from there to the outside of this bit, and it just holds off. So all this wear package just holds the bottom of the bucket off, so you don't wear the bottom of the bucket out. But what folks don't realise is, as much as the outside of your bucket wears, actually the inside of your bucket wears as well. So some buckets you'll see that have a wear package internally as well as externally. This particular one isn't getting that, but I have done it in the past where we've had wear bars internally. I did quite a lot of shovel buckets once that were working in the slag down on the British Steelworks. We put 3 wear bars in them, and again, all it does is it makes a little bit of the product stick in and stops the wear. So there you go. So there we are, we've set 4 of them on, spaced them out equally, and that's where we're going to put them. They're 120mm between them in the narrowest part. So I'm going to lift them back off again, have a bit of a grind up, and then they'll be ready to get tacked on. So as you can see, we've put the heel shrouds on now. They've all been cleaned up and tacked on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to weld around the top of them while it's this way up, and then I'll turn the bucket over onto its opposite side and weld the other side of all the adapters, the lip shrouds, and then I'll put the heel shrouds on the other side at the same time, and then hopefully by that time the headstock brackets should be back from the laser cutters and we can get the head mocked up as well, and then get it all welded up and finished and sent off for paint. So there we have it, look, all finished. So we've got side cutters, lip shrouds, heel shrouds, and welded in pins. So now it's at that stage, it'll go away and get shot blasted and painted, come back, we'll put the teeth on, and it's ready for the customer.